Bava Kama, Daf Kuf Ches Amud Beis. Bottom of the page, there's a Mishnah. Mishnah. So I hope Shavuos was good, and now we can receive the Torah again every day anew. Why don't we celebrate Shavuos in a commemorative way? Like we don't do a ceremony that reminds us of our Sinai. We don't make a fake Har Sinai. We play it as if we got it again. You know why? Because we receive it every day. From now on, every day we receive the Torah again and again. It wasn't a one-off thing. It was the beginning of many receivings of the Torah every moment. So this year's Lenishma Sovi Mother Menachem Ben Akiva Rus Bas Shalom Sol Bas Moshe Ule Refuas Yudis Bas Rivka Bas Tavo Says the Mishnah. The beginning of the Mishnah you'll feel very familiar with because we actually quoted it many times before. Says the Mishnah, the person tells his friend, where is my deposit? Where is the item I deposited by you? Amaloi. So the accused Shomer says, Ovad, I'm sorry, it got lost. I make you swear that he really got lost. And he said, yes, amen. Amen and a woman. Amar Amen, meaning what? Meaning what? I'm joking. Amar Amen, which means he said that really, I'm Nishba, I swear that your item got lost. We're obviously talking here about a Shomer Chinam. And therefore, because it's Chinam, I'm Potter, I'm exempt because it's a Veda. And then something really ugly happened. Came to Edim, Mishnah Kuf Ches Amud Beis, bottom of the page. Kuf Ches Amud Beis. The Edim testified that he ate it up. Doesn't mean necessarily ate it, that it was in his possession while he claimed that he was lost. It was a lie. What does he have to do? Mishalom Keren. He has to pay the basic amount, nothing else. He just swore l'sheker. He has to pay the Keren, the basic amount of however much it was worth, or the actual item. But if he admitted himself, Edim did not come. Just he admitted and he said, yes, I'm so sorry. I have my conscience killing me, and I have to admit that I lied and I swore false oath. He himself admitted it. This is very basic piece of knowledge. What the Mishnah is telling us here, that he has to pay the basic amount, the capital. Chomish is an extra quarter, actually, not a fifth, and an Osham, he has to bring Osham to Beis Hamikdash. Second case. Now there's a parallel case. You people tell me what happens if the person claimed that he was stolen, not lost, but stolen, and then he came out that he lied about it and he swore b'sheker. What's the difference now? What is the Mishnah going to say? Anybody, any prophets around? The punishment is different. If it's turned on his gun, if he has to pay kefil. I'm impressed. You can see Yosef was the whole night was staying here to learn the Torah, and he got to a higher level. Second case, where's my pikadon? Asks the master. Amarlo nignav. He said he was stolen. Says that's now the version of the shomer who was stolen. I make you. I'm under oath. V'amar Omen. He said, yeah, Omen. I swear to that he was stolen from my house, and I'm a shomer chinam, and I'm potter off the hook. The edim idim. If the edim come and say no, he stole it. Listen to the difference. Doesn't say acholoi like we said before. It says gonvoi, which means that the fact that it's in his house is called a theft. Why? That's a verbal theft. When you say that somebody else stole it, it's like as if you are the ganev. Like Yosef and Ellen were saying, he has to pay double the amount. That's gzeres hakosuf. That's what the Torah says. Although I would say it's the same thing. The Torah says no. You have to pay kefil as if you're the ganev, and that's mufursh psukim in Parshas Mishpatim. If the person admitted by himself and he came to confess that it was all false, no difference. He has to pay the keren, and there's no a fifth, a quarter, and an osham, and no kefil and chomish together. Right? Remember, you never pay both kefil and chomish. In any event, is moide biknas potu. That's besides the point. But even if you don't have that, yeah, when you never have kefil and chomish together. Now comes the news. Here comes the news of the week. Yeah, now comes big news. A goizelis oviv. Goizelis oviv. You know, before we start, a small introduction. As Shlomo asked a while ago, when a person receives the choimish, not Osham, the choimish, the keren and the choimish, is it up to the person to forgive that choimish and say, that's okay? Yeah, the nigzal, the victim, can he say, no, you don't have to pay me the keren, not even the choimish? Is it possible or not? We saw that it's possible. In Daf Kuf Gimel, there was a Mishnah. From now on, by the way, I'll relate to it as the Mishnah in Daf Kuf Gimel. There was the Mishnah that spoke about the person who flew to Modai. Remember? The one who flew to the end of the world, and you have to go to the end of the world in order to give him back the pruta. So then we said at the end of the Mishnah, the second part of the Mishnah, if the person who moved to Thailand has Rahmanus in you, you don't have to spend a ticket to Thailand in order to give back 10 shekels. So he says, you know what? He sends you a text message, a WhatsApp, and he tells you, Moichel, Pseder, I don't have to get the choimish, not just Karen, also the choimish. We said that works, but that's not so simple. Now let's see how the Mishnah seems to be saying something else. Says the Mishnah, a person stole from his own father. A person stole from his own father. Very nice guy. He stole from the tate. Venishba loi. And he was nishba to the father. The father asked him, did you steal? And the boy said, no, I did not steal, says the son. And then the father, such a son, shvua, and he knows that it's a lie. The father got a heart attack and died. Later on, the son, so now in order to get the number straight, for those of us who are a bit weak in math, not me, Stam in general, yeah. Let's say the son stole $900, yeah, and he has 2 siblings, right? So really, there are $900, and there are 3 siblings, himself included. Okay, let's say that's the story. Now the father died, and then says Rashi, he admitted, he really killed him. He couldn't really, after the ptir of the father, he said, I have to admit it was a lie, and really, I owe who? I owe my brothers and myself. No such thing as owing myself, right? I owe now $900 to my siblings, but really it's only $600, right? $100, I would say now they all inherit the $900 that are in the pocket of the Ganev, right? Plus the Choimish. So now what would we say? What would you say? I would say that he should give $300 to Reuven, $300 to Shimon, and $300 keep to himself, right? Because that's the story. Because he stole from himself, and also Choimish, plus the Choimish, also the Choimish. Yeah. I raise the Mishalim Keren v'Choimish. We erase the word v'osham lebonov oy leechov. Not so simple. He has to pay the entire Keren, my friend, my tire and chaverim. He has to pay the entire $900 plus the Choimish, plus the quarter of 900, which I have no idea how much that is. And he has to pay that to the bonov, to the children of the father who died, meaning most probably his brothers. Or if he has no other children, meaning if he has no other brothers, then listen to this. Instead of saying, I'm the only heir, I'm the only son of my father, so I'll stay with the 900. Because now that the father died and I stole from him 900, I inherited the $900 that are in my pocket. No, you have to give the entire thing to your brothers, or you have to give your uncles. Why? Because if a person has no children, the father who died has no children, and let's assume his father died, then who are the next heirs? The brothers of the deceased. The uncles, no questions now. The uncles of the deceased, they are the Yorshim. He has to give them the entire 900. I would say, Mapitam. What kind of thing is that? Why does he have to give something that really belongs to him now? So now says Rashi, a very, 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 very big yesod over here. There are 2 parts to the idea of returning a gzela, as opposed to by the goyim. That's what goyim would say. They would say, okay, not a nice guy, but at the end of the day, he gained from the situation, right? He owed $900 to his father by theft, right? Now he's the one who inherited. Let him stay with the 900. Says the halacha, not like that. Why? Because this is a very big yesod, and now you have to listen to me very carefully, because this concept will be with us till the end of the shiur and beyond. And that is like this. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, the heishiv is a gzela shergozal. The heishiv should return the gzela that he stole. And that talk particularly that relates to a case in which there was also a shvua and also a choimish, right? Once a person is nishba, that heightens the level of the need to return. Now, the heishiv is a gzela shergozal, according to what our Mishnah says over here, is exactly like the mitzvah of what I did about an hour ago or more of putting on tefillin. Just like you have to put on tefillin in the morning, and when it comes the holiday of Sukkot, you have to take the lulav. So too, you have to do a mitzvah ben odom lamokoim. It's a mitzvah, nothing to do with the other person, of getting rid, of returning, and basically taking out of your pocket the entire amount of money that you stole, regardless to the fact that you are actually one of the owners, or maybe even the only owner of that gneva. There are two parts. One part is the brothers, the $600. The brothers are screaming at him, taking him to Bezin. You're the thief. Pay us what $300 each. But even the third 300 that he owes himself, that too he has to get out of his pocket in order to be Mekayim v'heshiv, just like a person standing next to me in shul on Sukkot, and his lulav is bothering me. His lulav is in my, in my eyes. Oh, you do like Hashem. So then what? Then I can't say, I moichel you. You don't have to take lulav today. Since I'm not a Kadosh Baruch Hu, in case you haven't noticed, I'm not a Kadosh Baruch Hu, I cannot tell the person I'm moichel you until it's lulav, right? So too, you can't say I'm moichel you or v'heshiv. V'heshiv is just an act that has to be done. However, here comes the next line. Here comes another very, very important line. Ve'im eino roitze. Let's say he does not want to be mekayim the mitzvah of v'heshiv. What does that mean? The heshiv is part of your kapara. Just like you bring a korban, you bring the keren and the choimesh to the other person. Let's say, you know what? I don't want to be mekayim that kapara. Or he does not have. Doesn't have the money. He says, I need those $300. I'm sorry that I stole. I need those $300 because I need to buy milk and bread for my kids tomorrow, and they're going to cut off my electricity. I need to have that money. What do we do then? Listen to this. Loive. He has to give the brothers what? The entire 900, including his own 300 embedded in the 900. You know what he does though? Loive. Knock on the door of Reuven's gmach. Take $300 from Reuven, okay? The Baal Choiv, Reuven, whom you owe 300, he would actually get it from the brothers, which means you can retrieve it back from the brothers through the back door. Get it? In other words, you have to do a mitzvah of taking out, it's like a hot potato. You ever play those games, hot potato, or, parcel? So you have to get rid of that stolen item. Not like in the crime stories, get rid of the item and sell it on to Juanito. You have to give back the stolen item ASAP to the body that you stole from, which here happens to be the brothers. Later on, you can get it back because you really need the $300 through the back door. You cannot take back the $300 with your own hands because that would be a joke. It's like an Indian gift, I think it's called in American. Yeah, you give something and you take it back straight away. That's funny. But if you manage with a malve, with a person lending to you, you borrowed an extra 300, right? Gave it to the brothers, and then the gemach person he takes it back from them, and you stay with the extra $300 in your pocket. That can be done. Why? Because then I'm okay. I was mekayim the mitzvah of hashava by boom, take the entire 900 out of my hands as soon as possible, because that's my kapara, and we can work it out that the malve, and I borrowed money, and instead of me returning the gemach, the money of the brothers, of all the brothers together, the 900, the gemach people will take out $300 from there. Basically, it's like laundering money. But that's okay in halacha, not laundering money with the taxes and the banks. I'm not saying that. But in that case, you're mekayim the act. Look at the act of the heshiv. There's an act. The Torah wants you not to just be to even out the money and say, I stole 300 or 900. Hey, let's say there are no brothers, to make it, to accentuate it. As Gemara will say, at 900, I'm so sorry, and it's really wrong, it's terrible. Hey, but I'm the only heir. Now, all my father's money, whom I owed money to, is mine. I don't have to do anything. No, you have to give it to the uncles. You have to give it to somebody else because you have to get rid of the money. You're really down and out, and you have no choice, but it's really hard for you to do the kapara. Then you work out with the uncles. Uncles, I'll get money from the gemach. I'll give the 900, and the gemach people will take it back from you rather than from me. So I'm not losing money at the end of the day. At the end of the day, he stays with the 900, but in a roundabout way. The ikr or 300, whichever case. There are two different cases. No, there are two cases. Either he's one of three brothers or is the only brother. But it doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't really make a difference. Whatever he stole at the end of the day, he has to do an act of hashava. And sometimes, if he has no choice, he can somehow get it back from them through the roundabout way, and that's good enough. Okay, that's the opinion of our Mishnah. And by the way, I just want to point out, actually, I'm having Rahmanas on you because I don't want to make it too complicated for you, but I'm telling you now, it actually will help you for later. That is not like the Mishnah in Kuf Gimel. The Mishnah in Kuf Gimel said that the one owed money, as Shlomo pointed out then, the one owed money to can just say, I'm moichel. What do you mean I'm moichel? In other words, that Mishnah over there did believe that the victim of the story can just say, okay, you don't have to give me the care in another choimish, right? Meaning we don't look at it as Natilas Lulav. We don't say, oh, there's a veheshiv that you have to be kind, the act of veheshiv, even though later on we can somehow get back the money. It's not what the Mishnah over there said. And basically, there is this insinuated stira, contradiction between the Mishnah. Maybe it's a machlokes. Tomorrow we'll discuss that. Ellen was first. Okay, Ellen, and then Baruch HaGever. Yes?
No, brothers.
Okay. So we said, yeah.
What does he do with the
There's the Mishnah. Omer libnoi. A similar case, nothing to do with Gzela, it's to do with Nedorim. It's also a case in which Yoresh can somehow do that roundabout story. Omer libnoi. A person doesn't like his son so much, angry with his son. Koinam iateneni mishali. You will not benefit anything but koinom. I'm making a neder that all of my assets are like neder, are forbidden to you, like in the level of neder, of koinom. Koinom is a neder. All my assets are forbidden to you in the level of neder, which is a very severe thing. Imes, if he died, the father eventually died, surprisingly. Yoshenu, after the death, the neder doesn't apply. Because the father said, we assume that the father means, or we interpret the father, as long as I'm alive, you don't touch one dime, one shekel from me, and that will be until he dies, and then the son, Baruch Hashem, inherits his father. However, let's say the father got specific over here, and he said, if you will not get the koinum, not someone get, all my nechosim in my death, even after my death, during my life and after my death, you will not get a dime because why? It's a neder on you. So even though the nechosim will eventually be yours, you will not be able to benefit from them. That's neder. That's a big chiddush. The person's neder applies after his death. That's a big wow here. Although we're not learning nedorim, so don't ask me questions about nedorim. We'll get there. Alamai said the neder that started during his lifetime and is specified will continue after my death. Guess what? Continues after his death. And after he dies, the money really, you should know, belongs to the son, but there's like a fence around it. Imagine yourself, you have money in the bank, but somebody, I don't know, created some kind of, freezing the account, right? Or your money has another, liquidity problem. That's the story over here. There's a fence around the money called neder, koinom, so he can't benefit from his own money. The son can't. Now, let's say he needs the money. If he doesn't need the money very much, then what should he do? He should give it to his sons, to the other brothers or the uncles, which means what? What do you do? The money goes to them and he doesn't benefit. And that's it. He's stuck. However, the im ein loy, let's say the son has no money. This is the non-Mahadrin version for the poor people who can't afford to be Mekayim Halacha to its strictest form. So let's say he has no other money and he really needs the money. Then there is a shtick you can play. You can do the roundabout way, like we said before. Loive. He can borrow, let's say, whatever is the amount of money that he deserves in the Yerusha, $1 million. And the $1 million, he's loive, he borrows from the Gemach. Now, the Bali Choiv, which Bali Choiv? The one lending him, who lent him the $1 million, Boim Benifoim, they come and they take back the money from who? From who? From the brothers, from father's estate, from the brothers or the uncles. Why? Because that's a roundabout way. I personally have a koinom. I cannot touch that swimming pool. I cannot touch that house. I cannot touch those very golden coins, $1 million worth, because they're neder. It's a hefza. It's like a piece of chazir for me. But the value of them, I can be nehene, and therefore, if I borrowed $1 million from Reuven, and Reuven gets back his $1 million from the assets, that's okay. That's
the princes have halacha behind to take the money from?
Was agreed up to begin with, yes. Because the brothers are really holding money that's not theirs. The brothers are, as we say in Hebrew, they're zoichem in a hefker. They're benefiting from the situation. But that million really doesn't really belong to the uncles or the brothers, yeah? It happens to be theirs because he's not allowed to benefit from it. But if he can manage the other way, through a roundabout way, he can say, listen, those $1 million are really mine with a fence around it. So now the fence is off because I cannot go through the fence because of neder, but my creditor, he can, and he's going to do it for me. That's absolutely legal. Says the Gemara. Oh, now comes the question of what you people are asking. Amar of Yosef. Oh, Yosef, you the one who asked the question of Yosef is answering. Let's say the person who, we're talking about the Ganev now, he stole $900 from the father, and now he's the only heir. He can't just stay with it, feel cool about himself, stay with it and say, okay, $900. Well, he could maybe, but he's not Mekayim V'Heshiv. Like you could, Chadlila, not put on tefillin this morning. Okay, that's a new kind of conversation. But the Mekayim V'Heshiv has to give it to someone else. Let's say there are no uncles, there are no daughters, there are no great uncles, there are no fourth, fifth, sixth cousins. He's looking all over. He can't find any other Yairish to play hot potato and just throw the money to them. They're not talking now with or without returning. So what is he going to do? We don't tell him that not, we all know that unless you're convert, unless you're a childless convert, everybody has some kind of heirs. Everybody has the 20th cousin somewhere in where? In Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah. So we all have relatives somewhere in the end of the world. Yeah. And then over here, we're not mechayvim to look that far and beyond. We say, give it to tzedakah. As long as you give it to somewhere else, to a different body, it has to leave your pocket. The Torah wants you to act and do tshuva and actually take it out of your pocket and give it to Kupa Shel Tzedakah, or you can donate in betzvi, your shiur.com/donate. Afilu l'arneki shel tzedakah. Omar Rav Pope, says Rav Pope, wait a second, look what's going on here. There's a person who's a ganev. He stole from his father, which Yitzchak Rachenberg said is not a nice thing to do, right? And yet, it's going to be now. He's going to donate in the website of the Kupa or Manachai or whoever. And he says, a nice donation. Mr. Who? Mr. Reuven Cohen, somebody gives a donation. Where's the element of returning? Everybody will think that he's a nice guy donating money, right? He says, no. He has to say, when you give donation online, right? You can give a note. No, in honor of Rav, I don't know, Regensburg, Rav Genish, yeah? But he has to write, this is the money I stole from my father. You see it in the big screen in Yom HaShas. Big screen on the wall, Mr. Reuven Cohen, those $900 donated to Yeshiva's B'nai Melech. Gezel Ovi, that's the money I stole from my father. Yeah, yes. In other words, it should be that act of returning or giving to a different body with a realization and declaration that this is something that was Gezel. If it's to the other brothers, he doesn't have to declare. It's clear. It's clear. Obviously, why is he giving money to his brothers? Because he stole from them indirectly. But when it comes to a whole new body, which he didn't steal from, maybe that's time an act of tzedakah, that he has to compensate, to balance it by stating and saying, this is Gezel Ovi. This is, now comes the whole sugya alive. Frag the Gemara, up until now, what did they tell me? That this Mishnah believes that doing chazorah, not chazorah as chazorah sashat, doing hashava, giving back the item, always has to be done. Yeah, the other person, the receiving side, the victim, can't say, it's okay, it's okay. What do you mean it's okay? Just like I have to put on tefillin or have mezuzah, and my neighbor can't say, it's okay, you don't have to put on tefillin, unless it's Rabbi Elizabeth. Yeah, what do you mean you moichel? But that's what it said in the Mishnah, right? Frag the Gemara, how do you know? Am I? Why? Why can't the person, for example, in the case of him being the only yoirish, the only heir, and we say he has to give it to throw it out to the tzedakah, why can't he forgive himself? Which means, since he's the recipient, now he's the only heir, he's the only yoirish, right? And he's the only one that the $900 were retrospectively were stolen from. Why can't he just keep it in his pocket? Now, you're all going to tell me, because Rabbi Teichel told us that you have to do an act of hashava. Who said that's true? Who said that's true? Who said that's true? Milo Tana, didn't we learn, and thank you for preparing us, didn't we learn in Daf Kuf Gimel, in the first Mishnah of this whole story, about the guy who went to Modai, remember? Mochalo ala keren v'lo mochalo ala choimish. There's a whole story there of a person who wavered with the rights of getting the keren. It says mechila. It's okay. You don't have to give me the keren or the choimish or both. Alma bar mechilahu. You see, it is forgivable. It's not just something like tefillah that you have to do. It does depend on the recipient, and it's just a financial thing. It's just balancing the books. It is, yes, just a secular, so to speak, balancing of the books according to the Mishnah of Kuf Gimel. So why does the Mishnah require otherwise? Get the question? There are two schools of thoughts here. Let's just now, it's very, very important you guys know it now, because we're going to ping pong between these two Mishnahs all the time. The Mishnah that from now on, you know, the lawyers, from now on, that will be called the Mishnah in Kuf Gimel. Remember, what's the Mishnah in Kuf Gimel? The keg of what? Fire. Keg, the Mishnah of Kuf Gimel said that the victim can forgive, forgo, waiver. Yes, there's no holy act. You have to always give it. Oh, depends on him. If he's a nice guy and says, okay, $900 for me is nothing, no problem, then it's fine. Yes, he can. And there's no mitzvah, heilige mitzvah, ben odom lamokam that you have to give back, right? And here we see otherwise. Here we see no, that you always have to give it back to them. And even if you want to retrieve it, you have to play round about and round the chair, right? So l'chor, the two Mishnahs are not in tandem with each other. But why? L'chor, the first Mishnah is right. The whole Beheshiv is because he wants to get it back. If he doesn't want to get it back, so stop draining the cup. L'chor, right? With Dafka doing Hashava. That's a question. I would say Mechlokes Mishnayos. Let's see. If it's very quick, fine. Okay, you can ask now, but
No, it's trying to see a difference, point out a difference. There, here.
exactly. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Now comes Rabbi Yochanan. Good. Like Asha says Rabbi Yochanan, it's not difficult. It's a Mechlokes Tanoim. Welcome to Mechlokes Tanoim world. Oh, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, oh, Rabbi Akiva. The first Mishnah in Kuf Gimel that said that it is bar mechila, you can waiver it. You can. It's not a mitzvah ben adam lamokoim. Is who is Rabbi Yossi Aglili? Oh, our Mishnah that demands, our Mishnah here that demands you should always give back the hot potato should leave your possession is Rabbi Akiva. Who's Rabbi Yossi Aglili? Which Rabbi Akiva? Let's see. Titania. Look at the following case. Thank you. From this week's parsha. Oh, thank you so much. The Tanya, thank you, appreciate it. The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, one of the things we read 2 days ago, to be exact, Shabbos Nassau was Nassau County. What did we learn in Parshas Nassau? What happens, thank you, if the person stole from a ger stole from a convert, and he swore to the convert, and he has to pay keren v'chomish to the convert, and the convert died. Oy, oy, oy. And the convert was childless. Let's Titania. The ein la'ish goyel lahoshiv oshom. Let's say the man has no goyel, has no heir, has no yoirish, no relative, no next of kin to give back the oshom, which is really the choimish, to him. Then what do? You give it to the kohen. You give it to the kohen that works in that week in Beis Hamikdash. Frag the Bryce, is there any person from Jewish nation that has no relatives? Yeah, in other words, we all learned, or most of us learned, Yesh Noichlin. Everybody of Jewish origin comes originally from our forefather Jacob, and from Yaakov Avinu you can trace your 25th cousin, right? And people ask me again and again, Taichtal. I tell them, the Rebbe of Berlin is my 8th cousin, or maybe 10th cousin to my cheshbon. Yeah. So I'm saying we are related somehow, right? So Mimela, everybody has goyalim, everybody has relatives. So how do you say, what does the term mean that if you stole from someone and you have to give him plus the shvua, you have to give him choimish, and if he has no relatives, you give it to the kohen. Who in the world has no relatives? Jewish geography, right? You go on a teal to the end of the world, you meet another Jewish guy, and after 2 minutes, you discover your relatives. That's minhag of our nation. Ella, as you all know the answer. The ger, his last name, of course. Avram Mackenzie came from the illustrious Mackenzie family, and he has no relatives in the world because his father and mother are not his father and mother halachically, and his children are yet to come, and they didn't come. And the ger died, childless and parentless. So now, what do? When you have to return the chomish v'oshim you stole from the ger, You have to give it to Mr. Cohen, who currently that week works in Beis Hamikdash. That's the basics. That's basic halacha, which I think you all knew anyways. Array comes a brisa to tell us a very interesting case based upon that. Array shegoz al ger. Story, not a real story that happened, a theoretical story. A person stole from a ger, v'nish baloi. He made a false oath to the ger. Mackenzie, Avremel Mackenzie, I did not steal from you. Mapitom, I never stole, and I swear to you, open Sefer Torah, I never stole. The Shoma shemes ger. Now he does have feelings of remorse, and he heard. Listen carefully. He heard the rumors. Avram Mackenzie died. He heard the loudspeakers in the street. Ager tzedek, Avram Mackenzie. You know, sometimes the voices are a bit blurred. He thought that the ger died. So what does he do? He realizes, he does want to do tshuva. He wants to do tshuva, and he takes his money now to the kaspoy ve'ashomoy, the extra, the keren and chomish should go to who now? To the kohen. And the Oshon, Beis Hamikdash. He takes him to Yerushalayim, all the way from Bet Shemesh, takes the bus to Yerushalayim. You know who he meets in the bus? Mackenzie. He didn't die. It was just a rumor. Avram Mackenzie, I don't believe it. You're alive. Wow. Yeah, there were just rumors. I was alive. They thought in Corona, so many people died. They put me in the list by mistake. Really, I'm alive. Wow. Mazel Baruch Chaim Mesim. So now he says, oh, you know, Avram, great. I'll now pay you the keren and the chomish, the Oshom, the Beis Hamikdash. I'll give you now the keren and the chomish. Says Avram Mackenzie, you know, at the middle of the bus, I don't have pockets now. For some reason, not so convenient for me now to get the money from you now, the keren and the chomish. The zok, I'm continuing inside, the zok follows b'milveh. You know, you'll owe it to me, give it to me next time we meet each other. The ger Mackenzie trusts him, yeah? And the ger told him, listen carefully, it's important this stage in the story. I'm now turning it from Geneva to a choiv. I know you're a good guy, and you really, with tears in your eyes, you're the guy of, you want to give me back the $900 plus a quarter of 900, which is some funny number. Yeah, and that's all very nice. And what? Well, of course, it's a number. And what? And now, how come you don't know how much it is? How much is a quarter of 900? So, of course, I said to 25. Yeah, now Mackenzie says, now you owe it to me. We're basically in the stage of checkout. In other words, those 900 plus 225, in the first chance I'll meet you, in a month's time, I'm going to Chasana of Yankelevich, and so do you. We'll meet each other. Then you're going to give it to me. Right now, it's too. Now you have cash. I don't want to start taking cash in the middle of the bus. I feel lo na'im. We'll leave it for later. That's a very crucial point. Because Lamaisa now, the 925 or whatever, is not already part of the Gneva because he wants to give it back. And conceptually, it was accepted by Mackenzie, by the ger, right? He now has to give it to him like a debt. It's now a debt in his pocket. He owes Mackenzie like a regular secular debt. He owes him that amount of money. Wow, later, before the Yankelevich wedding, the ger died. Ooh, what happens now? Does he have to give it to the Kohanim? Machloikes. Zocho halo b'masha b'yod div Rabbi Yossi Glili. Says Rabbi Yossi Glili, since Lamaisa, you, when Mackenzie died, when the ger died, you had it in your pocket, right? And now, nichsa ger, the dice belong to who? To whoever holds them. You happen to be the one holding them. Mazel tov, you're now the owner of the 900 plus shekels or dollars, says Rabbi Yossi Glili. Why? Because he does not believe he has to do an act of hashava. Let's ignore now the fact that he was turning into a choiv. The fact, even if Mackenzie would be rabidly angry with you and would say, you have to give me back the 925, but I don't trust to give it to me. And he's searching for you, and you're playing cat and mouse, and he would die with the money in your pocket, says basically, no problem. But basically seems to be saying, I don't believe in this whole business of the heshiv, of the hot potato, pass the parcel, you have to get it out of your pocket. If Lamaisa, that money has no other claims, because Mackenzie has no children, no parents, no nothing. It stays by default by you, says Rabbi Yossi Glili, which means Rabbi Yossi Glili believes the first Mishnah Daf Kuf Gimel, that there is no special mitzvah like that, or the mitzvah can be nimchal. It's not a special Adam Lamokoy. Rabbi Akiva says no. Says Rabbi Akiva, no. You actually, as long as you have the money in your pocket, even in the case even in the case when he was not half moichel you, turning into debt, if the money stays with you and he died, that's not a good situation, says Rabbi Akiva. You can't just stay with it and say, okay, it's all balanced out. I'm Mackenzie's yoirish because it's hefker in my pocket. So I'm okay, I'm cool, I'm smart. No. Says Rabbi Akiva, you have to get it out of your hands and you have to give it to who? So possibly you have to give it to the kohanim. The Chomish Roshim should be given to the kohanim, says Rabbi Akiva. Zok the Gemara, what I told you already. Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Oh, no. Now says the Gemara. No, the Gemara now points out. Oh, says the Gemara. I don't know. Let's stop now. Let's stop. Let's pause for a minute and make a cheshbon. Now there are two different stories in Daf Kuf Gimel. We say in Daf Kuf Gimel is like Rabbi Yossi. What's Daf Kuf Gimel? A person moved to Thailand. He has Rachmanus over the person, the Ganev, and he says to Ganev, you know what? Comes a WhatsApp call or a real call or email. I moichel you the money. I moichel the 10 shekels or the $900. They put, oh, that's good. Fine, good. Reuven was moichel to Shimon. There's no mitzvah to dafka, give it back, come what may. No, that's Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Now, Rabbi Yossi Aglili would say the same thing also in our Mishnah here in Daf Kuftes, Kufches, that the person can be moichel himself, right? The one who stole from his own father and now stayed the only heir, he's moichel himself. And he can tell the uncles, I'm not giving you anything because I'm moichel the choiv myself. I'm the heir, not you. I'm moichel myself because I'm the one receiving it. I'm the one kilu stolen from. I'm moichel myself. Says the Gemara, yeah, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, lo yishna lenafshei, lo yishna le'acherim, whether the mechila is the ganev to himself because the ganev became the victim. He can be moichel to himself, lo yishna le'acherim, or Reuven be moichel to Shimon. Like the case in Kuf Gimel, the one who made to Moda, it's the same. Matzi mochil. A person can always be moichel the choimesh, always be it to himself, be it to others. That's Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Well, Rabbi Akiva, we assume, according to Rabbi Akiva, lo shna la'acherim, lo shna le'nafshei, lo matzi mochil. According to Rabbi Akiva, it's just the other extreme. Whether Reuven cannot be moichel to Shimon, that's a big chiddush. Reuven cannot be moichel to Shimon. And that's therefore Rabbi Akiva is against the Mishnah where the Mishnah in Kuf Gimel. Others, Reuven cannot tell Shimon that's okay, that's okay. No, it's not up to you to say it's okay. He has a choiv to do the heishiv. And the person to himself also cannot say, let's leave it in my own pocket because I'm the one receiving it, supposed to receive it. No, you cannot be mechel either way. We want to make the mechlekas all over. Well, Rabbi Yossi, now you may ask me, didn't I tell you? In the case of the ger, remember there are three cases here. Case number one is in Daf Kuf Gimel. What did we see there? One person can be mechel the other. Easy, mechila. A person stole 10 shekels from you, 20 shekels from you, and you lied. Ellen is a very generous guy. He would say, come on, you lied to me. I don't like you so much, maybe. 20 shekels, leave it by you. Let's leave the story. I'm moving anyway to Netanya. Stam, don't do that, yeah? Yeah, let's just forget about it. I'm okay. That's the Mishnah over there. Who believes that Mishnah, the way we see it now? Only Rabbi Yossi Aglili, not Rabbi Akiva. Our Mishnah said the opposite. Our Mishnah spoke about a person not being even moichel not being able to be moichel himself. A person is the one who stayed with the entire gneva himself because he inherited the victim. Who was the victim? Daddy, Tati. And what? He inherited Tati. Now he's the owner. So he can be moichel himself. Says the Mishnah, no, he cannot be moichel himself. He has to give it out to somebody else, even to the Kupa Shel Tzedakah, just out of your, it's like the hot potato again, get it out of your, no, nobody can be moichel you. Only Hashem, and Hashem will not be moichel until you get it out of your system. That's very much the other extreme, right? And who believes in that? That you have to always give out, Rabbi Akiva. So the first Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi Aglili. The second Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva. Life is good. Why are you saying it's complicated? Where did we see Machlokas Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Akiva? Where did the Machlokas come to Mefursh case? The case of the ger. The case of the ger that you met in the bus, and you were going to give him the choimish. They said, you want to give him the choimish? That's great, good. Give it to me another time. It became like a milva. And then was Machlokas Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Why? He died, the ger, and he was in my possession. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says, stay with it. Rabbi Yossi Aglili believes you can just stay with the money. There's no mitzvah like tefillin or lulav to do the act of a shavod, take it out. No, that's Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Rabbi Akiva says, no. Avraham Mackenzie is a nice guy, but lo meshaneh. Still, you always have to give it to somebody else. In this case, the kohanim. Now, we spoke about the case that the ger said, give it to me later. when he says give it to me later, it's like half a mechila. It's halfway, right? It wasn't completely. They're not playing cat and mouse. They're cooperating, but the money wasn't yet given to the ger. Rabbi Yosi, who adin dafilu loy zok for b'milveh. According to Rabbi Yosi, even if the ger wouldn't have agreed to wait for later and turn the gzela into alva, even if that wouldn't be the case. Let's say the case was that there's still till the end of his life, Avram the ger would be rabidly angry and say, "Where is the money? I want it. I demand it." And the other guy didn't give it to him and only made a tshuva after the death of the ger. Says basically it doesn't make a difference. Even though you're really mechuyev in veheshiv, if the money ended up in your pocket, you stay with it. There's no mitzvah veheshiv. That's what Rabbi Yossi would say. So why did the Brisa portray a case of that he became a debt, which means it's like halfway there? Why? No, to tell you how Rabbi Akiva, to show you how strong and extreme Rabbi Akiva is in the case, meaning that even though the ger is not looking for it, but the ger half received it, yeah, the ger basically says, okay, it's there. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to give it to me another time, in a month's time at the wedding. It's like already in the checkout stage, but not in the hands of the ger. Even then, I would say, listen, it's kilo in the hands of the ger. Why am I mechuyev to give chamesh v'asham? It's just technicality that he didn't get to his hands. There's Rabbi Akiva, don't tell me technicality, schmeticality, no. Ein lo takana shotzik zel mitachas yodoi. Rabbi Akiva is extreme with Ganovim. By the way, it's the second time we see Rabbi Akiva is very extreme with Ganovim that have to give back to other people. We'll see, I'll remind you of the other case. Says Rabbi Akiva, no. As long as it wasn't in the hands of the actual ger, even though it was virtually ke'ilu by him, no ke'ilu by me, says Rabbi Akiva. No. As long as it wasn't by him mamesh, and when he died, it was in the hands of the Ganev now has to give it to someone else, which would make sense, would be what the Torah says, the Kohanim the work in that Mishma. If there's a quick question, yeah, there's just about time for questions. You was first, yes. No? Okay. Yeah.
Would the Ghana have to say?
Frag the Gemara. Before we continue, I'll give you a very balabatish example to understand the psychology, so to speak, or the logic of the Gemara later on. Let's say that not a very nice example, and maybe out of the box, and maybe inappropriate, but I'll still say it. I decided to say it. We all know that the worst, definitely one of the worst tragedies of our nation was the Holocaust, and we all know the Germans paid tens of millions of marks and euros and hundreds of millions. Not that we forgive them, but they paid. So let's say that in 5 years' time, vast majority of Holocaust survivors already died and will die. So let's say one of two options. You tell me which one would make you more angry. You open the news, you open the newspaper, the news site, and you see what? That the state of Israel decided that it completely forgives the Germans. It's been a long time. I'm not saying that's good, it's terrible. I'm not advocating it. And the state of Israel decided it's all fine. Okay, we forgave you, you paid a lot of money, it was a long time. Now it's all good. And of course you'd be very angry, right? Angry. Now comes, or what would be another case? Germany decided that it forgives itself for the Holocaust, not Israel. We decided that we forgave ourselves because it was a long time ago and we paid a lot of money to the Jewish people. So we decided that we forgive ourselves. Which one would make your blood boil more? The Germans. The Jews stupid. Okay, state of Israel, don't expect much from them. But Lamai said that it's worse. Oh, very nice. We all agree. Now let's read the Gemara. Maskif Rav Sheshes is now attacking what we just said. If so, if that's what you're telling me, that the Mishnah Dafkuf Gimel is Rabbi Yossi Aglili and our Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, you took the wrong opinion to the wrong Mishnah. You know why? I'll explain to you why. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Lishmeinan lenafshei, v'kol sheken lacherim. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says, yes, you can forgive. Other people can forgive you, and you can forgive yourself. Which one is the bigger chiddush? That you can forgive yourself. So Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Dafka should have mentioned his opinion in the Mishnah of himself, which is in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah Daf Kuf Ches is about a person who's the only heir, the only Ganev and the only son of the only victim, and he forgives himself. That's a bigger chiddush to forgive yourself, to just manage it amongst myself, like in some governments or armies, we manage it ourselves, we forgive ourselves. That's more of the chiddush than to say, right, that Reuven forgave Shimon. So Rabbi Yossi Glili should say his opinion, Dafke and Dafkuf Ches. And Rabbi Yossi Glili should be the one saying that if a son stole from his father, and now he's the only one with the money in his hands, he can forgive himself. It doesn't have to do anything out. And I'll say, Kol Shekain, Reuven, who's a different body, Kol Shekain should forgive Shimon. But that's not the case. Dafka Rabbi Yossi Glili spoke in the case of Reuven, yes, forgiving Shimon. Oh, but maybe Reuven can't forgive Reuven, I would say. Now, Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the one who spoke in the Mishnah over here of Daf Kuf Ches, and it says, no, a person cannot forgive himself. But maybe others, maybe Reuven can forgive Shimon, I would have thought. Says the Gemara, Lishmein lacherim deloi matzi machil. Rabbi Akiva should extend and maximize and take his chiddush to an extreme, that even in the Daf Kuf Gimel, Rabbi Akiva should have spoken there and said that the guy who went to Modai cannot forgive. Even though it's Reuven and Shimon, still Reuven cannot forgive Shimon, and Shimon always has to fly to Modai. And I would derive myself, that if Reuven can't forgive Shimon, of course Reuven can't forgive Reuven. It's like the wrong case. But basically, in Akiva, each one talks in a case that is less mechudesh, that is less of a chiddush. Get what I'm saying? But basically, he chose to say that what? In a case where the person Reuven can forgive Shimon, or Reuven and Reuven himself maybe can't forgive him, still stuck high and dry, and so to Rabbi Akiva. Elam of Sheshes. Therefore, Sheshes wants to say, Mazel Tov. Both Mishnahs are Rabbi Glili. Both Mishnahs, the one Mishnah that says you cannot forgive, and the Mishnah that says you can forgive. Excuse the order. Lo Mishnah. Both Mishnahs can or cannot. Are both Rabbi Glili. How could that be? Now, what we said as a question becomes an answer. Rabbi Akiva says that one can forgive the other. If Reuven hears that Shimon made the confession and he cried and tatati and tatata and he's in Thailand or not in Thailand, I can forgive the other person. I am big enough to forgive you. And Mimela, in that case, you don't have to do veheshiv. The veheshiv is not there anymore to do the hot potato and take it out of your pocket. Aval lenafshei loy matzi mochil. But to himself he cannot forgive. We don't allow that internal laundering system that the organization takes care of its own problems without any exterior body looking at it. Lenafshei, the person himself, meaning in our Gemara over here in the Mishnah Daf Kuftes, when the son inherited his own Geneva, he cannot forgive himself. And here Rabbi Yossi Glili is the author of both Mishnayos. Rabbi Yossi Glili is the very same one who said over here that he has to get it out of his pocket, give it to the brothers, or the uncles, or Kupa Shel Tzedakah, or your Shiur.com, let's give it to somebody else, because you can't play your own mechila, be your own moichel, your own rabbi, yeah? Ella, wait a second, how does that fit the story of the ger? The story of the ger, he forgave himself, because the ger died. The ger never forgave him legamre. The ger died, and he ended up with the money in his pocket. Rabbi Yossi said it's okay. Rabbi Yossi does not believe you can forgive yourself. Yeah, he was left with the pocket. Says the Gemara, no, now we hit the nail on the head. You know why? By the case of the ger who was thought to be dead and in the end died, you know why he stays at the end of the day with the money in his pocket, the Ganev? That's why. Because the ger said, I am okay. When they met in the bus, after the ger came back to life, and the ger said, I'm so happy, I trust you, I received it. Kilo niskabalti. I bet some Kilo received it. I forgave you. It's all over between us. Let's kiss and hug. Technically, I'm in the middle of the bus full of Hasidim from Ramah Bet and full of people from Ramah Aleph and Gimel Dalet. I feel shame. I feel bad to take a whole nylon bag with money. Lomatim. To give it to me later. But it's only a technicality thing. Mimele, then Rabbi Yossi Glili said that in case that the ger died, then it's okay and you can leave it by yourself. Because really the ger already forgave you. Not forgave, but there was kilo already acceptance, which is like mechila, niskabalti. That's okay. But in the case where the father, in our Gemara, the father till the end of his life was never moichel, never iskabalti. The father never even knew maybe that he stole. He just suspected him, died of heart attack. And then what? In that case, even Rabbi Yossi Glili would agree, you can't just forgive yourself because voila, you happen to be lucky and be the only one that happens to be with the money in his hands. That's what Rav Sheshes wants to say. Rava answers a very similar answer, but just the other way around, mirror image. Rava says both Mishnahs are Rabbi Akiva. Very similar logic. Rabbi Akiva. Both the Mishnah Daf Kuf Gimel that said you can be moichel, and the Mishnah Kuf Ches that says you cannot be moichel are both Rabbi Akiva. And the same answer. Kiyama Rabbi Akiva deloy matzi machil lenafshei. Rabbi Akiva, in the case of the ger in the bus, the ger who said niskabalti, that he cannot forgive himself, because Rabbi Akiva does not believe in technical shmechnical. Rabbi Akiva says it's considered that there was no acceptance, and yet you to yourself you can't be moichel as long as there was another person. There was Avraham McKenzie who never really got the cash to his hands, and you ended up staying with that. That doesn't smell good. That's like the German said. We met all our own professors and our own politicians and our own sociologists. We decided to forgive ourselves for the Holocaust. You can't forgive yourself, says Rabbi Akiva. And Mimelo, that's the same Rabbi Akiva in our Mishnah Daf Kuf Ches, with the son who stole from the father and ended up with the money. There's no, I happen to end up with the money myself. Ha ha ha. I benefited from the hefker. But other people can. If Reuven was stolen from and the ganze Meister and he flew to Thailand and then Shimon stayed here and Reuven says, I'm Meichel Shimon b'vakasha. Even Rabbi Akiva says you can do the mechila and there's no mitzvah shava. Michlal says the Gemara, that is to say, according to the second explanation of Rava, Rabbi Yossi Glili Sovar, according to the second explanation, what do we say? Rabbi Yossi Glili is always Cholek on Rabbi Akiva. And he thinks, right? According to Rabbi Yossi Glili, even if the ger, according to the current explanation, Rabbi Yossi Glili would say, you can always forgive yourself. Even if the ger was searching for the money and never said, I'm okay, I'm fine, I receive, I forgive, I forget. No. Even then, according to Rabbi Yossi Glili, if the money of the ger happened to just be by you, yeah, you benefit from the hefker. You happen to be the winner, the lucky winner of your own money, because you're like the Yerush of the ger. Not Yerush, it's in your possession when he died. If so, Frank the Gemara, brilliant question, which should have all asked before. If so, Ela Gezel again. The Kamarachmana Nisina Lakoyanim, Echimashkachas Law. Rabbi Yossi Glili, please tell me, according to you, when in the world would we have a case of Gezel again that goes to Kohanim? It's a Meforsha Pasuk in Numbers, number 6. It says in last week's Parsha that if you have the Gezel Ager and you stole from him, and he died, you give it to the Kohanim. When would they give it to the Kohanim? According to Rabbi Yossi Glili, whether it's me or the ger or any combination, we say what? That if the money stays by me because I happen to be, the money is in my chotzer, in my reshus when he died, it's mine. When would they give it to the Kohen? I'm the legal right owner of that. When would we have a case of me having to give it to the Kohanim? Bishlam for Rabbi Akiva, there's a difference between Zokov and not Zokov. The fear Rabbi Akiva, there are cases, let's say, right, that for sure if the ger is looking for it and it's by me, I have to give it to someone else. That someone else is not the Kuper Shel Tzedakah, and not Laman Chai, and not Beis Tzvi, and not the Gro. It's a Kohen. That's Rabbi Akiva. Very good. The fear Rabbi Yossi Glili, he says, no, you can't forgive yourself, meaning if you happen to stay with the money in your pocket when the ger died, it's yours. So when did the Torah say it goes to the Kohanim? It's a din Torah. Rabbi Yossi Glili can't argue with that. Omar Ravi, you just have to stay for one more line. And you know what the story is? Listen to this case. He stole from the ger v'nish baloi. He swore l'sheker. He lied to the face of Avraham McKenzie again. What did he say? I swear to you that I never stole from you. The mesa ger, the ger died, anguish. The hoydelacher misa. Wow. After the death of the ger, he went, I don't know where, maybe to Beis Din, and he gave hoido, and he confessed that it was all false, a false oath. So that's interesting. Yeah, he stole and swore to the ger died, and then he admitted. So, the Be'itna de Oidi, what is the last button in the sets of buttons that triggers the Chomesh V'Osham? What's the last action you have to do to press the button in order to be Chayiv Chomesh V'Osham? Oido, you guys are amazing. Oh, that last button was pressed after the ger died, and he's not an entity. He has no children, so you don't owe it to the ger bichlal. You know who buys it? Kno Hashem. It's the first time I see in the Gemara that Hashem is called Hashem. By the way, I'm not joking. In the Gemara, Hashem bought it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bought it, as it says. There's the pasuk, Amushav la Hashem la kohen, v'nos no la kohanim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who buys it. Hashem is the ger's relative. Who is the closest relative of the ger? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's his father. I'm being a little bit, flowery over here. But the Master, that's what states. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Kilo, the one acquiring it, because there is no financial entity here. And Hashem decided, you give it to my buddies, to the Kohanim who work in that Mishnah. That's the case. They work for him. They're Hashem's workers. Yeah. He has jobs for the Kohanim. Thank you very much. Have a good